everyone, it's Jean from the Inky Studio. Welcome to my channel. This is part 2 in the Vintage Bird ring bound journal that I am making from packaging and other recyclable elements. And today we're going to be working on this little accordion fold out page. The one thing about a ring bound journal is trying to find enough writing space, and so this little accordion page offers quite a bit. So I'm going to be assembling this, and also this junk mail envelope. I'm going to be assembling that as well as making the custom tag that will go in it. So I'm doing a voiceover, and I hope you're liking my voiceovers because I think I can put in a lot of information in a short amount of time. And please subscribe because part 3 is going to be some more elements like this that we're going to be adding to our cardboard pages here. I had a little glitch in the very beginning of the voiceover, so I just wanted to interject here that I'm using I start with two 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper, and of course these are tea stained paper, but you can use lined paper, notebook paper, whatever kind you would like. And I needed to measure how far or how long I wanted my fold out papers to be, and I went ahead and I used this inside section where we have, first remember, we have a page that's been covered and then we put an inset on the other side, and so I used this inset as a guide for the size of my paper that I wanted it to be. And so I ended up cutting a little bit off the long side of the paper so that I could put the two together and have as much writing space as I could. So I just wanted to interject that before we got started with the voiceover. And thanks a lot for viewing, and we'll get started.
Them to be, or how long. I cut off the long side of them so I could have as much paper as possible. And here I am folding up about a 1/2 inch. And I'm not pressing it real hard fold, just a light fold so that I can see the line and attach the second piece of paper right up to the crease. I should have done a better job of getting it straight here. You can see there's a little bit of a buckle there, but it ended up, I ended up fixing the problem in the end. Then here I folded over about 1 inch, and this is going to go behind that little page inset there. And I glued that down to the back to keep it all secure. And then I'm going to start folding it. And I would recommend to stay within the bounds of that inset. And you're going to be folding it like an accordion. So you'll fold it one side and you fold it to the other side. And then you come to the end and you will have a little flap left over, and that will be a little pull tab to open up the accordion. And in the end it's a little uneven, but I went ahead and I cut it and it fixed the problem, but probably would have been better if I'd paid more attention to get the two papers straight. And it is to fold out this way, and you can journal on both sides. Now we're going to do the two tabs to hold the accordion together, and they're about 1.25 inches wide, and one's 4 3/4 and the other one's 2 3/4 inch long. And about 3/4 of an inch inside I put in a score mark to fold a flap over on each side of, or on just one side of each tab, like so. And the longer tab, I am going to go ahead and just cover that with decorative paper. The front of it, anyways. The shorter tab, though, we're going to do something a little bit different. And on the shorter tab, we're going to be putting on a string. And I would recommend a lightweight one. I think baker's string is perfect, but I didn't have the right color. So I ended up with this hemp cord. And so it's not a real thick string, because that would probably leave a real visible bump like a twine or something like that. I'm going to be using Fabri-Tac to really hold that string in together. And then we will cover up the top of that. And I left about probably 6 inches beyond the tab so that I have something enough to wrap around the little button that's going to go on the other side. And just get that side covered up nicely. And I'm going to round out the corners, although I probably should have waited until I got both sides glued on, but I'm using a small round punch, the small side of my crocodile. Now we have to make a little button that is going to go, the string is going to wrap around. And I've got some cardstock, decorative cardstock here, and plain, and I'm going to put in the hole that goes in the middle first, and then I've got a 3/4 inch circle punch, and I'm going to center that hole. And it's so much easier to do it this way than to cut out the circle and try to put the little hole punch in the middle of the circle. And we're just going to glue those two together. So it is a double cardstock button. Now I usually use brads. I don't really care about using grommets. I haven't had good luck with those. And so now we're going to just sort of line up and see where the button should go. And I'm just placing them both in there and eyeing it up, in the middle, and just a little bit, probably to the right, just a little bit. And marking that up and putting the hole in there. Now my little brad's is small. It's a tiny brad. And I'm going to spread the back of it, but not too tightly, because you want the string to go between the tab and the button. I've covered it with some tape just to make sure that it's secure. And we will glue that portion down. Now I did forget to glue the back of the small tab, but I did that later on. All right. Now we're going to glue the tabs onto the page, or the page inset, and mark the middle. And put the first tab down. And get the other side pretty well even with it there. I am just going to test out the little string. And then glue that tab in place, making sure it's all even across. Now we're going to attach this whole section to the board page, and I have glued all the whole back, glued it down well, placed it down over the board, and there we go. Now I did have a couple problems that I had to work out. But first of all, we're going to get the holes in. I like to use the same page that I have. I have the first page here completed, and I like to use it to mark where the holes are in all the pages. So I'm always using the same template like. And now I go to use the regular hole punch, but now it's just way too thick. I just do not have the strength to make that hole punch. There's just too many layers. So I got out my crocodile. But unfortunately, the crocodile is a smaller hole than what I need for the ring fasteners. And so what I ended up having to do was, you see, I've got the ring there, and it's just not large enough. So I had to like chew open a larger hole by punching that same area multiple times, and I would test it out with a hole reinforcer to see, am I getting it large enough? Do I need to take off more? Um, And it's okay if you make a larger hole than you need, because the reinforcer, once you put it over there, will even out that hole. You just want to make sure it's as large or larger than that hole. Now, the problem that I ran into was that the reinforcer is hanging over onto the, um, off the paper onto the board there. And every time we lift this page, it's going to, you know, interfere with the rings and stuff. So I went ahead and I fold it over so that it is on the other side of the ring reinforcers there. And I glued that portion down. And it ended up being a really good move, because if you did not glue a little section down here, it would constantly be lifting up over the rings and probably making the page not flip as nicely, as smoothly as it should. The second problem that I ran across, and that is, you can already see that the accordion pages are covering over the holes. And it just, I just felt like it would be a drag every time it would drag on the rings each time you opened it up. So I should have allowed a lot more room on that left side than I did on the fold. And but I was able to fix it. I refolded it so that it doesn't go over there quite as far. And then I also reinforced that little tab with decorative paper. But originally I really should have, allowed about 3/4 of an inch on that fold on the left side. For the second project, we're going to be using some junk mail. And this is an envelope that I got that you're supposed to mail something back in. And I'm going to mark it about how far up I want it to come on my page. I decided to come down a little bit because the tab, whatever I put on the tab, I want it to stick out a little bit on the tag. And so I've cut it down to the size that I'd like. And then I realized that, and then most of the time I like to make a custom tag for these pockets because they end up being different sizes. So I'm testing out the paper I want to put on the tag to fit inside. And then I realized that there is this, that when I flip it over, there's going to be this open space, and I probably could cover it up with paper, but I also realized that most junk mail is going to be sealed there anyways. And so I'm just going to go ahead and show you how I'm going to make a flap for a sealed piece of junk mail envelope, and just putting some decorative paper on there. And I'm going to cut a flap, and I don't know, at first I thought about replicating the flap of an envelope, but actually it only really needs to be any shape, but it just needs to be a flap of about an inch or so. And that's going to fit then on the back of your page inset there. And miter in the corners a little bit. And there's your flap. Then, because they need to be custom made tags to put in them, I am testing out some paper, some decorative paper I'm going to use to cover the tag with. And I'm using some packaging of a lightweight cardboard. It's not as heavy as a cereal um, package, but it's a little bit lighter weight. And that's going to be my tag base that I will use. And I want to cut it down so that it goes in and out easily. So we'll just glue, and I've already tested to make sure that the graphics on the cardboard does not bleed through onto my decorative paper. And I'm just getting that all done. And to put the little angles onto the side, of course I want to make sure it does go in and out easily. And I'm going to mark about where I want that tag to end. But to put the angles on, I have taken an old not credit card, but rewards card, and I made cuts on it, and that I use as a pattern. And to me, that's the easiest way to get it done. And so I'm testing out to make sure that that fits in there nicely. Now there's that little piece of cellophane paper was catching on the tag, so I had to kind of glue it down. You may want to check for that. Sometimes they don't glue all the way on the inside. And now I'm going to collage the front of it. I really like these leaves here. I thought they were really fascinating, and I like the idea of how they sort of came down and angled off to the side. In the end, though, I found out that I probably this should have been my last piece I put down, but it still worked out okay. I make the piece a little bigger than I need because I want to have a little bit to fold over the edge. On the inside there, so to strengthen that place where the tag goes in and out, the opening, to strengthen the opening up nice. So I'm going to collage the rest of the envelope, and I'm going to use a tear ruler so that I have an uneven edge coming in towards that window. And now I realize that I need to have put this down last, and I can't get it underneath there, so I'm going to have to go over that first piece of the leaf on it. But it's alright. There was a little area that was going to show of the envelope, so I just distressed it a little bit, and I will put on this piece here. I could be using a glue stick here doing this process. I'm just so used to using glitter glue that it goes fast for me. And found this lovely little bird on the page that I got the leaves off of. And I just love this collage paper from Victoria Designs. It really, you can tear off any little section and you got something fun to work with. So here I'm going around the window with a pencil. The borders of the window, so that when I make a tear line I can stay pretty close to the shape of the window. It does not have to be perfect because that's the whole idea of having the tear papers. We're making an imperfect opening actually. And I'm going to put the bird down last, and so grabbed a few pieces. Got this piece here that I really like. It's got like a little pink in it that kind of goes, I believe, with that pink that's up in the left hand corner, and I like that safety, that paper clip. But that kind of adds some interest to it. And so now we just have to tear around the bird until he fits on there nicely. And that took a little while. I think I forgot to distress around him, but that's all right. Trying to get the perfect position. I think I wanted to make sure that paper clip showed uh, in the design. And so now the collage is completed. And I'm going to put in the tag. Make sure that it, I think some glue must have seeped out there. And then see how that looks. And I like the results. I'm really pleased with the way that turned out. Now we're ready to attach it to the inset page that's going to go over the cardboard. And yeah, we're going to glue that together. I didn't like that white up there, so getting that covered up. And I'm going to glue it to that page. Now it's ready to I still have to cover the back of the envelope. And I'm going to be using a glue stick here because I'm saving, just so I can save on the glitter glue a little bit. So I put in a good layer of it on the cardboard part of it, but on the edges I still like to use glitter glue. I don't always have success with the edges being glued down well with glue stick for some reason. And there we go, voila.
Well, that wraps it up for today. Please subscribe for part 3. I'm going to be adding some more elements to our ring-bound journal here. And then eventually we're going to spend a little time decorating it. So thanks a lot for watching, and we will see you real soon. Bye.